It's getting hot in here at the hot corner. Yeah. We're going to talk about it, Will. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 63 of Bringing the Heat. My name's Cody Pye, and with me, as always, the four-seam fastball co-host, Will Sism. I mean, dude, if they haven't turned the podcast off already after that opening ballot, that's true fans right there. How in the world? Happy New Year, man. How are you doing?
Happy 2024, man. It's good to be here. First episode of the new year. And hey, we've had a little bit of a just over a week break again. So we're going to come at it hot and heavy today. And ring in the new year right.
I missed you, man. How was New Year's Eve? Did you make it? Did you stay up till midnight?
We made it, yeah. I made it. They shoot fireworks in our neighborhood, so our dog doesn't like it. But
True.
But yeah, because of that, I made it to midnight to watch the festivities.
Yeah, little assist from the environment, I guess. That's
right.
Tough, man. Yeah, so it happens here. Spring Hill has a problem. I don't know people love it. People love it. My big issue is, and I don't want to just get off on a tangent, but the day after. I mean, there's trash in the streets, and I'm like, what are we doing? You know?
Yeah.
I'm 28. I feel like I'm 85, you know?
Yep.
Like, not on my lawn. Anyway, let's dive in, okay,
let's do it. The hot corner.
The hot corner, third base. We're talking about it. I'm super excited. We got a little news beforehand, but just on the base case, man, before we dive into third, we talked about it a little bit before we hit record. You're looking at a position that I feel it got better like threefold from last season. Am I right?
Yeah, looking at our list and going through, some of the options here for our breakdown, I kind of felt like it was going to be quite a bit deeper and better overall than it was last year. But after kind of looking at everything and looking at some of these numbers that we're going to throw out there in a little bit, feels drastically different than 1 year ago. I mean, last year we were thinking, man, you got to attack third base quick because it's going to dry up.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. Yep. Dude, you're 100% correct. Before we dive in, though, we got some news. We'll hit the grill. What's on the grill with Will? And we're going to look at the Dodgers, who just keep attacking the free agent market. They signed Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I'm like 50% that I nailed his first name. They signed him directly after we hit the end button on our last session for episode 62. It was actually pretty funny. So that's a little podcast curse right there, guys. But the Dodgers got him to 12 years, $325 million. There's an opt-out after the 6th and 8th year. He's 25 now, so he'll be 31 and 33 at those points. So he can have another bite at the apple. This is a contract that's more guaranteed money than any pitcher in Major League Baseball history, and he has never thrown a pitch in the big leagues. You called it, Will. I don't know if you remember, dude. It was such kind of like a quick-handed comment on one of our last episodes, but I was listening to it a week ago, and yeah, dude, you called it. How you feel?
Dude, it's crazy. I just kind of had a feeling that a bidding war was going down, and man, the figures. I mean, I get that he has a great track record in Japan, and that's awesome. But for someone who has not thrown one pitch in Major League Baseball to get a contract like this is amazing when you really think about it.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, I mean, everything you see, everything you read about this guy, he seems like the real deal, the total package. He's still really young. And I tell you what, man, the Dodgers, if he is as good as what people are saying, this Dodgers team, at least on paper, is as good as I've seen in a long time. But it's exciting, man. I kind of alluded to this, it was either the last episode or the episode before. And actually, in a weird way, like, I don't like the Dodgers, and I probably like them even less now. But
Yeah.
I think this is in a weird way good for baseball because it feels like there's a villain again.
Yeah.
It used to be the Yankees back in the Steinbrenner days when they would, they were the evil empire.
Hmm.
And now it's like the evil empire has moved out west in LA. And I think in a way, I think this is going to be really good for the game. Um, I am obviously I will say that I think the Dodgers are definitely the favorites on paper to win it all, and obviously the offseason is not done yet, um but by no means does this mean that the Dodgers are going to win it all. We know
Correct.
baseball is a crazy game and weird things happen. Some of these signings that look so incredible right now, maybe they
Hmm.
don't look too good come August, but
Yeah.
at least right now, it's an incredible signing for the Dodgers. I'm very, very curious to see how Yamamoto looks at the major league level, and from a fantasy perspective, I'm really curious to see where he goes in a lot of drafts. Come here in a couple of months when we get a lot of data on that.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on ADPs on this guy, and we aren't there yet, but we will shortly look at the starting pitching kind of breakdown. And I got 60 names on that list, and he makes that. But I've seen him as high as the 10th pitcher to come off the board, which also, if you think about, it, I mean, that's going around like a Blake Snell or
Right.
even an Aaron Nola. Those are some big name dudes. But I feel like it's going to be a little bit on a kind of a smaller scale with Masataka Yoshida last year. I feel like people were like jumping at this guy, having not really seen much. I mean, obviously you watched the World Baseball Classic and he did some stuff there, but there's going to be some people who go really really high, and I'm excited to see it in my drafts. Arsenal wise, this dude is pretty nasty. I guess fastball averaging around 95, 96. It can top out at 99. He's got a splitter, cutter, and a curveball. He also has great command. So it's a perfect storm. This dude, you can look at the number and be like, wow, how does this happen? Well, minimal arm injuries, and he's 25. So you don't have a lot of pitchers hitting the market at 25. Blake Snell, he, just won the Cy Young. He's 31. So, um,
Yeah.
dude, I don't know. If you're not a Dodgers fan, you probably hate this, but just like you said, I'll end on this. It does not guarantee a World Series for the Dodgers, not even a little bit, because they got absolutely housed by the D-backs in October, and the payrolls weren't close then either. So, real quick though, Walker Bueller, Tyler Glass now, Yamamoto, Bobby Miller, Emmett Sheehan. That is what the rotation's looking like for right now. Not bad.
And then
Not bad.
Otani in 2025.
2025 is going to be very interesting to see. How are they going to deploy like the 6-man rotation like the Angels had to
Hmm.
do? They are stacked with pitching talent in the minor leagues. They have like Gavin
Yep.
Stone, and then just other fellows. I'm blanking on their names, but dude, let me tell you something. It's going to be pretty interesting the next few years in LA. But let's talk about the team that we're all here to talk about. Will, you want to move on? Let's talk about the Red Sox, because they finally freaking did something, and I am jazzed about it. We'll go in order of events here. They got Lucas Giolito a few days ago, 2 years, $38.5 million. It has an opt out after the 2024 season. So if it goes terribly well, I think the Red Sox can get out of it. Had a pretty rough year last year, but in 2022 and 2023 averaged together. I did that so I don't cry myself to sleep at night. What about 346 innings pitched, 381 Ks, 134 walks, a 4.89 ERA, 1.37 WHIP. Yee. I don't love it, but I also don't hate it. I think it's a step, which is nice. Kind of felt like, I don't know if you've ever seen that SpongeBob like GIF or GIF where Patrick's kind of poking
Yeah.
the rock, and he's like, "Come on, do something." That's what we've been in Red Sox Nation all offseason. I don't know if you saw the quote. Craig Breslow got the job as GM and said, "We're going to go full throttle." And I just haven't seen it. They signed a pitcher who got DFA'd by the Rays to a $1 million deal. And that was it before this and what we're fixing to talk about, which was the year-end sale that took place where on the day before New Year's Eve, the Braves landed 7-time All-Star Chris Sale in return for top prospect Vaughn Grissom. The Red Sox will also send $17 million in the deal. So they saved $10 million. This is not a cash strapped team, but I guess we can get excited about it. I got a lot of stuff, but I feel like I've been talking for a second. What are your thoughts?
It's just kind of wild to me, honestly. I mean, the Giolito thing, I'm with you. It feels like you know, a step, kind of a check the box kind of thing. Hey, we got a pitcher.
Yeah.
Um, we'll see if Giolito can somewhat regain his form from a few years ago. I mean, if he doesn't, then it's probably not going to excite Red Sox Nation very much if he's kind of more of what he's been the last year or two.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I mean, at least the strikeout numbers are there. At least he's an arm that can get you innings, which is something that they definitely need at this point. And then the Chris Sale move for Vaughn Grissom was, I don't know, it felt like it kind of came out of left field to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in a vacuum, I don't hate it. You're getting a young, upcoming middle infielder that's at least got some potential. We'll see where the power goes. That's really something that we haven't seen, but seems
Yeah.
like he's major league ready. His bat's solid,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see if power ever gets there. But for a team that just so desperately needs pitching, and you get rid of a guy that's, I get that he's been injured and I get that he's an aging arm, but
Yeah.
I just don't really understand the move because the lineup's not really a problem.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, my whole big takeaway amid both of these deals is like, where is the Red Sox of 5-10 years ago? I mean, like I just, to have to settle, and I hate to use the term, but to have to settle for a guy like Giolito, and you're not even hardly rumored to be in the mix for some of the top echelon guys over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
It just feels weird to me that the Red Sox are kind of in this boat.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, they're in such a crazy hard division right now that unless they start making some bigger moves, like it feels like the other teams around them are just way better, and they're even getting better, and the
Yeah.
Red Sox are just kind of treading water to me.
Yeah. It depends on if they're done or not to me, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
still big fish out there. There's Montgomery, who I'm not a huge fan of, but I mean, I can get
He
behind the
would help
numbers.
them.
He would. Oh, anybody,
Yes.
anybody would help him. There's no doubt about that. I just, I guess I'm
Yeah.
being a little picky there. But I wouldn't be surprised if they throw some money at Blake Snell. I don't even know how I feel about that because I feel like last year was such a great year for him, and it was like his 100 percentile year. That
Mm-hmm.
are the Red Sox gonna pay an upcharge because he's literally
Yeah.
coming off his second Cy Young? I would say whoever's gonna get that contract done, it's going to be a little bit more than he's probably actually worth, especially at age 31. Um, I didn't hate this deal. Chris Sale, I think I texted you, or a lot of people reached out to me about this. There were heartstrings attached to this guy for me. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he was in 2018. I darn near watched every single start this guy threw, and they called it Sale Day on
Mm-hmm.
Nesson, and it was like we knew we were going to win. He was untouchable, and he was a big piece in winning that World Series. And then they ink him to the long term deal, and he just cannot stay healthy. He had issues on a bicycle, problems there. Then some shoulder stuff. I think he had some back stuff. I don't know if you remember the hot shot against the Yankees. Right, I hit him in
Yeah.
the hand, broke his pinky. He's just walking off the mound. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
even. He just walks off the mound. I'm like, son of a gun, that's not good. So that's kind of
Yeah.
a freak injury. I wish him all the best, man. He's 34. He'll be pitching in his 35-year-old season. There's actually a vesting option on this deal that the Braves can pick up. I thought I had the money on here, but maybe I don't. But here's what it vests on. He has to be top 10 in Cy Young Award voting, and he cannot end the season on the IL.
Hmm.
So if he's able to stay healthy and can do his thing, which I'm not absolutely sold on that he's washed, as a lot of people have said.
Yeah.
I think he'll be a great piece for teams like the Phillies and the Dodgers who have some I got some really good left-handed bats. Like I don't know, a Harper, Schwarber, Otani, or Friedman. You know, you get to October, which we know the Braves are going to land at. Uh, Maybe have that arm out of the bullpen. That'd be pretty cool. And you joked the other day we were talking Josh Hader, and you said maybe to the Braves, and I sent you a picture of Chris Sale and said they already traded for Hader, and you're like, you're right, bring him out of the bullpen. I don't think it's a terrible idea. For my Sox, real quick, because I know we got to move on. I don't hate the move. I feel like our window is not within the next couple years. So I actually think it's a pretty big overpay for the Braves. I understand why they did it. They have Brendan Shoemake and they have Orlando Arcia, who's only 29. I don't know why I pictured him like 31, 32,
Yeah.
and is playing great. So, and obviously Ozzy Albies, the whole Braves 1 through 8, they're locked up and they're going to be okay. So I get it. I like it for the Red Sox. It makes me a little sad. Is it kind of a sad commentary of where we are right now as an organization? 100%. Did I get on ESPN and see that the Liverpool, who is also owned by PSG, who owns the Red Sox, they're going for Mbappe, and he's going to be worth like $150 million a year.
Yeah.
But we're not spending money on the Red Sox. Does that all make me sad? 100%. But you know, at least we're doing something. We're in the narrative. I don't have to hit the 8-minute snooze button on this show. I feel like I keep bringing up the Red Sox because it's just so near and dear to my heart. We'll see what happens. Can't be done. Let's go out. Let's get a Snell. Let's go crazy, man. Let's go get a center fielder. I don't know, Belly. Let's do that. It's not happening, but I can hope. A boy can dream. And it's a new year, Will. So Red Sox going to bring it, and we're going to get 4th place in the American League East, maybe.
Who are you beating?
I'm going to get back to you on that, Will. Let's move on. We're going to do – we're beating ourselves right now, okay? We're not beating a soul. Hey, I don't know. Maybe the Blue Jays – no. I mean, I'd pick everybody else. Okay, moving on. We have spent so much time on the grill. We're going to get a little well done, a little protein reference. So we're going to just run through the rest of the news here, Will. And I want you to just talk about – I got 4 things here. You hit on whatever you want, buddy. Here we go. Reds add some pitching depth, maybe, with Frankie Montas. The Montas and the Reds agreed to a 1-year, $16 million deal after doing nothing for the New York Yankees. I think he started like a full 10 times. His ERA was 6.89. Just injuries. He was injured when they traded for him, and he stayed true to that. But you do have a veteran now in an armful of really young guns. It's going to be kind of fun. At least Cincinnati's going out and spending a little coin. The Padres, they added Yuki Matsui. We kind of talked about this a little bit. We're a little late on this, but this dude's a stud. Was a KBO legend, had 236 saves. 2.40 ERA. Padres are needing a closer because Josh Hader's not there anymore. White Sox added Gold Glove backstop Martin Maldonado, famed Astro champion. Is now going the other direction. Money grab, I think. He's getting $4 million for 24 and then an option for 25, another 4. And then Mitch Garver to Seattle. I kind of like it. 2 years, 24 million. You know, he was part-time at bats for the Texas Rangers in road to that World Series. Pretty solid at 344 appearances. Had a pretty solid 270, 370, and 500 slash line. 19 home runs, 50 RBIs. Couldn't stay healthy. But if he can, do they have the best tandem? They got Big Dumper Cal Raleigh and now Mitch Garver at the catching position. That's not bad.
That's not bad, man. I think that's a sneaky, underrated move by the Mariners. I kind of like it because it's basically going to allow them to essentially use one as catcher, use one as DH, and kind of vice versa. Yeah, I kind of like that Seattle move. I'd love to see them do one more thing, try to find another bat out there somewhere in the offseason. But, yeah, I like that by Seattle. You know, the other move, though, that I kind of like, and we were talking a little bit about it before the show, but the Padres going out and getting Matsui. I mean, obviously we have no idea yet how he's going to quite translate to Major League Baseball just yet. But the track record suggests that he's got good stuff that plays. You it's basically like get a little bit less expensive option to potentially close out games. And
Yeah.
so, I kind of like it. And I mean, I'll be honest, even if I had the money to do it, I
Hmm.
don't love the idea of paying a closer $100 million. I feel like I can use $100 million to go out and get me some other piece that maybe can,
Yeah.
I don't know, through roster construction and roster building, that you can maybe utilize your resources a little bit better.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I like the move, at least on paper, that the Padres did. And then the other two, I feel bad for Martin Maldonado going to the White Sox. It's just like going to the black hole. And then the first one that you mentioned was Montas to the Reds, which
Hmm.
I think is honestly, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But the problem is we honestly have no idea what
Yeah.
Montas is going to look like coming off of pretty major injury. So
Yeah. It
um,
creates more questions, I feel like, than it answers.
yeah, I
I
mean,
don't.
the thing is, though, is we've said that the Reds need starting pitching, they need innings eaters, and hopefully, if Montas is somewhat back to himself,
Yeah.
it's a good move. But if he's not himself, then it's not really going to help anything, right? Because they
Correct.
need, they've got Hunter Green, they've got Lodolo, who should hopefully be healthy coming into the season. So they've got the two young guns at the top of the rotation. Now, if they can fortify 3, 4, 5 to, at minimum, just eat up some innings to get to the bullpen,
Hmm.
the Reds would maybe be onto something. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Yep. We'll see, dude. We'll see if you said innings eater. I don't know that he can do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think back Oakland A's days. There's
Yeah.
tape on this guy being really solid, and but if you're, I mean, think about the Yankees. I mean, this guy was supposed to be
Yeah.
co-ace with Garrett Cole, and boy, that aged worse
Yeah.
than milk. I don't know
Yeah.
what age is worse, but
Yeah.
broccoli's not great. We found some broccoli in the fridge the other day. I was like, what is with that smell? And
Ugh.
got digging. Yeah, we had some broccoli. Eat your broccoli before it goes bad, folks. It's good for you. You know what else is good for you, Will? Our third base position breakdown rankings. Because
Yeah.
guess what, guys? Draft season is coming around the corner. Spring training, 40 days away at this point.
Wow.
And yeah, we got a list, man. I actually cut it down to 30 names. I don't know what it is. I felt like our lists were shorter last year. Not the case this year. So we're gonna roll through. Obviously, we got our blue chips, our steady eddies, question marks, and we got a couple lotto tickets, man. Just sprinkle a late round draft pick on them, guys. You will not be disappointed, or you will. That's the lottery, right, Will?
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay, let's look at our blue chips. We're gonna start out with a little controversy because that's how we like to roll. We got 5 names here. First one: Bobby Witt, Jose Ramirez, Austin Riley at 3, Gunnar Henderson at 4, and Rafael Devers at 5. Let's pause. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. One of our pillars of this show is to get some help around Bobby Witt. And here's the deal. I didn't think he'd be third base eligible. I do research across a few different websites, and everywhere I'm seeing the major fantasy baseball websites other than CBS, and then personally, I know Fantrax will not give him third base eligibility, but you still got Yahoo and you got ESPN. Those are pretty big ones that people use in fantasy baseball. Are giving Bobby Witt third base eligibility. I know not why. He didn't play third base last year, not even a little bit. I don't know if it's because he did the previous year. I don't know how those websites. I couldn't find any answers on that. I don't know if it'll drop off next year, but for this year, we do want to put it on your radar. So we're going to just say, hey, he might be available. So we kind of put him at the top of our list because, to be honest, this dude was nasty. 23 years old for the Royals. You didn't watch him because he played for the Royals, Will. 276 average, 30 home runs, 96 RBIs, 97 runs scored, 49 stolen bases, 1 off of 50. And this is a guy, dude, he can do it all. What's not to like about Bobby Witt?
Yeah, I mean, he's Showtime, that's for sure. It'll be really interesting to see if any of that changes. I mean, here's the thing: if someone didn't play a position last year, I mean, probably shouldn't be eligible.
I'm with you.
So we'll keep an eye out on that as we approach draft season. It's very possible that those websites just haven't, since we're not in season, it's very possible they haven't updated that just yet. But definitely something to keep your eye on for sure, because that only helps his value if he's got
Yeah.
both of those positions for sure. But just talking about the player real quick, I am done hating on the guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not done hating on the Royals if they don't do anything with this kind of a talent.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this for a second. He's on arguably the worst team in baseball last year,
Mhm.
right? Minus the A's. Okay. He's 23 years old. He hits 30 home runs
Mhm.
and steals 49 bases. And he's 23, playing on arguably the second to last roster in the major leagues.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And I mean, we would think, since he's only 23, that he's going to continue to get better as he continues to see, more major league pitching, and hopefully the Royals get a little bit better around him. Not holding
Mhm.
my breath there, but we'll see. But man, like, obviously this guy, I think it's pretty safe to say he's going to be a top 5 pick overall, pretty much in just about any format you choose.
Yeah.
Just because of the the stolen base insanity and the
Mhm.
power. I mean,
Mhm.
even if he's still on a awful team, like that is incredible. And
Yeah.
so in dynasty formats, I know we don't talk a lot about that specifically on the show, but
Mhm.
once you get past Julio and Ronald Acuna, man, he should be the guy,
Yeah.
based off what we saw last year. So I have nothing but good things to say about this guy. Now it's just Royals. The ball is in your court. Don't waste this talent.
Yep. I'm with you. What about the other four blue chips? You got Jose, Austin Riley, Gunnar Henderson. I know that's your boy. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a crisp 22 years old. And then
Mm-hmm.
Devers. That's my boy
Yep.
at 5. You like Henderson over Devers, huh?
Just based on where they're at in their careers combined with the team around them. So that's kind of the way I'm going to answer that. I think you're splitting hairs, at least as of right now. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
talking about 5 years into the future. I'm talking about right now going into 2024. I
Mm-hmm.
think if you're comparing purely Gunnar Henderson, Rafael Devers going into 2024, I think you can make a very good argument either way. I think they're both very similar players. They're both in the prime or entering their prime of their careers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to me, I went with a little bit younger plus better team around Gunnar Henderson. And so that's
Yeah.
why I gave him the edge at 4.
Yeah.
Um, talking about the other guys, though, here's what I really like about this position.
Mm-hmm.
All of these blue chippers that we're talking about, they are in their primes. Even Jose Ramirez, who's 31, like, I would still very much consider him in the prime years of his career.
Yeah.
These top 5 guys, man, these guys are so good. And if you're able to get one of these guys in the first, 2 to 3 rounds, let's just call it, man, you've got a cornerstone guy to build around. And I'll admit, I really do. I love Gunnar Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what a lot of people forget about with him. Remember how slow of a start he got off to those first 2 months of last year.
Yeah.
And it was like after the first 2 months of the season or so last year, it's like he figured it out.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, okay, this is the top prospect that we were hearing about for those years in Baltimore. And like this
Mm-hmm.
guy, along with Adley Rutschman, and we're going to talk about Holiday in the next episode. But man, Baltimore's got it's not just all sorts of talent coming together, which it is at the same time, but
Yeah.
it's like elite
Yeah.
talent these guys
Yeah.
are, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And Baltimore, just like what I said with Kansas City, I know you're on a different level right now, but you
Mhm.
got to bring a championship with, like, you don't get this high end talent all coming together at the same age at one time very often,
Yeah.
and you have to take advantage of it right now.
It's very much like a 2015 Royals-esque
Yes.
group coming together, and it is one of the more enjoyable watches in baseball. Hey, real quick, and then we'll move on to our steady eddies. What if I come to you and I say, "Hey, Will, okay, Bobby Witt's not on this list. Let's have a new conversation for number one.
Yep.
I like Austin Riley over Jose Ramirez." I mean,
I'm not going to debate you on that very hard at all.
yeah,
I mean, the only thing that I could, say in probably Jose's favor is the stolen bases.
true.
Because he's always like, Jose Ramirez is one of those guys that, how can I say this? I don't think Jose Ramirez will ever, at least at this point, will ever challenge the top 2 or 3 overall players of fantasy baseball for a season.
Yeah.
Right. But what I do think of when I do think about Jose Ramirez, I think of a guy that, man, I know exactly what I'm going to get. And it's going to be elite production across the board, including stolen bases. I feel like his floor, even at age 31, is basically a 25-25 season. And his floor batting average is probably around 270, 275. The only bad thing is he hits in Cleveland, and based on what we saw last year, that Cleveland lineup is not great, and so that doesn't help.
True.
But
that's true. They switch lineups, it'd be different.
Yeah, but I say all that to say Jose Ramirez is about one of the safest top end producers you can still get in the game. Having said that, I love Austin Riley.
Yeah.
If Austin Riley can somewhat flatten out some of the roller coaster rides, if that makes sense, because he is a guy that, and I told you this last year, Cody, because you drafted him in one of our leagues. I said he is going to be, on some weeks, if you play in a week-to-week league, he is going to carry you in some weeks because he's just going to be like white hot during that week. But some weeks, it's like he strikes out 3 times a night, for a week straight.
Yeah.
And so if he can somewhat like flatten a little bit of those peaks and valleys, then I think he becomes, because as of right now, he's our third-ranked third baseman. Yeah. If he can somewhat get a little bit more consistent, I think then the conversation is, okay, is Austin Riley a top 10 to 12 overall talent in the game? And I think he's got that ability.
Yeah, I think he could be too, coming into what will be his 27-year-old season.
In an incredible lineup.
Incredible lineup, dude. This dude's out there. He's played at least 156 games the last, the last few seasons, two seasons, going up to the COVID year. He's been out there. Here's the deal. The underlying numbers favor Jose as like he's a better hitter, Right. But Riley hits for more power. I mean, obviously, you can look at the numbers. He had 37 bombs with 97 RBIs, and then Jose had 24 home runs with 80 RBIs. But the underlying stuff, strikeout rate, better for Jose, walk rate, better for Jose. So everything you said, man, high floor, and he's just unbelievable. It kind of makes me sad he's going to like live out his career in Cleveland, because I think he would be just such a really cool piece to a championship team.
I agree.
And man, it's just kind of bums me out.
Can we also, before we move on, we do need to touch on Devers. Is this possibly a year to where we're actually getting Devers at a little bit of a discount? Because we've got these top end guys that we're talking about at the position that, I think, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think in almost every draft, I think at least 3 of those guys will go ahead of Devers.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the guys that come after him. But I mean, Rafi Devers, like him or hate him,
Mm-hmm.
The guy knows how to hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Fenway's a hitter's ballpark, especially with the green monster in left field. But
Mm-hmm.
this could be a year to where you're actually getting a little bit of potentially a discount on Devers, because we're going to talk about how much deeper we think this position is. So the urgency at the top of the draft, like it was a year ago, might not be there for all third basemen. So it could cause some of these guys to fall a little bit as a result. So that will be something that'll be fascinating to look at once we get a lot of quite a bit of drafts underway, once we get closer to spring training and start seeing some real ADPs, which is average draft positions. That'll be something that I'll be really interesting to see, because I feel like some of these big names that we're about to reel off could come at a pretty good discount this year.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I love that you said ADP, my favorite 3 letters in the alphabet.
Right.
Okay. Jose Ramirez is 13. I'm looking up Riley right now. Riley is
probably around 20.
Loading 21, and then Devers is 27, and that's 2024 outlook. Dude, I think they're all going to go, and this kind of speaks to that. They're all going to go in like that second round. Dude, we got to do another top 2 rounds kind of draft to show what your first 2 picks could look like, because it's going to be gnarly. I feel like once one goes, they might all go, dude.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to this fancy level. I love spending a little blue chip time, man. We needed it. Okay, let's move on to the steady Eddies. I'm going to rip off 5 names here. We're starting with the number 6, Elly De La Cruz of the Cincinnati Reds. Manny Machado. Oh, how the mighty blue chips have fallen. Yandy Diaz at 8. Nolan Arenado at 9. Royce Lewis at 10. And that's 5 names, dude. What do you like? 5 through 10.
Man, I like these guys a lot, and they're all a little bit different, for whatever reason. But let me just say this. Elly De La Cruz does not fit Steady Eddie very well, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be nuts not to have him high on the list, just because there's honestly nobody at the position like him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really not anybody in the game of baseball like him, other than maybe Ronald Acuna and O'Neal Cruz. And here's the thing with Elly De La Cruz. If you're not in a dynasty league and you're just purely drafting for 2024,
yeah,
okay, I'll put it this way. The people who draft Elly De La Cruz are banking on him being that freak of nature that we saw glimpses of last year. Because if you don't, here's the thing. If you're in a 8, 10, 12 team league, or 14, 15, whatever.
Yeah.
If you don't believe 100% in Elly De La Cruz, you're not going to get him, because somebody is going to think that this guy is the thing, and they're going to get him around the 5th to 7th guy at the position.
Higher. Dude, I got some ADPs pulled up. Okay,
Yeah.
now let me tell you something. This is NFBC.
Yeah.
All right, so these are all paid leagues.
Yeah.
Okay, 21.
See, there you go. See, he is going to go based off of what we saw last year. He's going to go higher than he should, right?
Dude,
just
he's
purely
2024 Bobby Witt.
Yes, he is. He's 2024 Bobby Witt. And that's what I'm saying, though. Like, if you don't 100% bank or believe that he's going to cash in on those crazy tools that he has, you're not going to get him, because somebody else will. And so the reason he's this high on our list, though, is because of the freakish ability he has. The guy has, and let's not forget, he hits in Great American Ballpark. Remember, he did not play a full season at the majors last year either.
No.
The guy could, I don't think anybody would be shocked if this guy went 40-40.
No.
Here's the problem, though.
I'm waiting.
I don't think you would also be shocked if he hit 235 and struck out about 220 times.
Yeah.
Like that, but that's what you're getting with Elly De La Cruz. There's not really much in between. I don't think you're going to get a guy who's going to hit 280 with 30 home runs. Like, it's going to be something either crazy good, or it's going to be something crazy bad based on where you draft him.
That 33% strikeout rate. I mean,
That's rough.
that's Joey Gallo-esque.
Yes.
Terrible.
Yeah. But
Max,
the tools are unlike anybody else has in the game.
yeah, and he's only 21.
And he's only 21. So I just want to throw that out there because he doesn't fit the mold of our steady Eddies normally.
Yeah.
But that's why he's in there.
He's our Uncle Eddie. He's a little wild card.
Yes, he's the freak Eddie.
Yeah.
And then on these other guys, man, there's a couple of kind of guys who have been in the major leagues for a long time, probably Hall of Famers in Manny Machado and Nolan Arenado. You know, I would venture to guess at least one of those guys is going to be should go way higher than they end up going.
Yeah.
It just depends on which one do you think is going to have a bounce back season.
Yeah.
And honestly, both of them might. And then Yandy Diaz. Do you believe last year's Yandy Diaz is what we're going to get again? And if the answer is yes, then you probably are going to have to draft him in what, 5th, 6th round.
Dude, now I found the ADP. Dude, I'm having such a good time with it.
Yandy Diaz is as steady as they come. The only question with him is the power legitimate? Because last year was easily the most home runs he's ever hit in the season.
Yes, sir.
And then last but not least, I know this is taking a while, but man, all of these guys are really interesting.
Got to.
Royce Lewis. This guy, we're just going to go ahead and say it right now. I feel like Cody, you especially, but we were on this guy earlier than just about anybody was last year.
Yeah.
And I felt like last year, I was like, this guy going into 2024 is going to be on every single person's breakout list. But I don't even know if you could really consider it a breakout anymore because he kind of broke out in the second half last year. But this guy is legit. If he gets out of the Byron Buxton syndrome,
I love it.
Man, we're talking about a guy. I don't think this is a stretch, but we're talking about a guy who could very easily be top 3 or 4 at this position come 2025. I believe in Royce Lewis if he can stay healthy.
A lineup. Oh man. Man, that would be fun to see what he does over. He hasn't played more than 24 games in a major league season.
I know.
And these are the numbers he's put up. He was electric in 22. He's electric in 23. 309 average, 15 home runs, 52 RBIs. We all saw what he did in the postseason. Yeah. His ADP 41. Yandy Diaz 132. Dude,
are you kidding me?
They're doing your Rays dirty, and I'm not here for it,
man. Dude, if Yandy Diaz's ADP 130 comes spring training, like all of you guys who don't draft him before 130, we're gonna have to check your insanity levels. My gosh, I mean, what do you not like guys that hit 325 and hit 20 home runs or more? Like, dude,
Yeah, I think he was on like 70% of the championship winning teams last year.
Unbelievable.
That's just not wise.
Trust me, speaking from a Rays fan, the guy can hit.
Yeah.
Like, I promise the guy can hit. And he hits leadoff. He's going to score a ton of runs. As long as you don't expect him to steal bases, dude, he's going to over-deliver.
I love it, man. Hey, I got a little chunk here. It's 6 names. It's 11 through 16.
Yep.
This is a man we've talked about a few times because he can play all around the horn. Spencer Steer. We have Josh Young, Hassan Kim, Isaac Paredes, Justin Turner, and Alex Bregman at 16. Who stands out?
Man, this just speaks to the depth right here of what's changed from 2023 going into 2024. These guys that you just said are 11 through 16 on our list. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind having any of these guys as my third baseman for my fantasy team.
Yeah.
Whereas a year ago, if you would have given me whoever was 14 on the list, I'd be like, no, there's no way I want this guy. So I think that speaks to the depth we were saying, how this position has really transformed itself in just a year.
Yeah.
But these guys, it really depends, kind of like what I was saying in the previous episode, like what flavor of ice cream do you want? You know,
Yeah.
do you want a guy who steals bases? Well, you got Hassan Kim, who's going to be eligible at third.
Yeah.
Do you want a young guy who's up and coming? So here you go, Spencer Steer, Josh Young, and Paredes. Do you want a pure power guy? That's Paredes and Josh Young. Do you want a veteran who you pretty much know the floor? Well, you
Yeah.
got Bregman and Turner. So
Yeah.
really all of these guys, I don't think they offer the upside that some of
Sure.
the previous guys that we've talked about do. And that's
Yeah.
why they're, 11 through 16. But you want to talk about guys who have a solid floor and the
Maybe.
young ones that have potential to really break out even more than they did a year ago. I
Yeah.
really like some of these guys on this list.
I did a little research, and I got number 14 on our list from last year. Would you like to hear who it is?
Who is it?
Gunnar Henderson.
Oh, okay. I take back my previous statement because Gunnar Henderson is my guy.
Yeah, he was number 3 on our question marks, and what a beautiful call.
That was a pretty good call, though. But I will say, by really only having a couple of months under his belt going into 2023, I think we kind of were on that one.
Dude, it's why you come to Bring in the Heat, guys, for fantasy advice. Dude, I love everything you said, man. I am most excited of these 6 to see what Josh Young's going to do in that Texas, no Reigns, baby. Let's see what he does. I mean, had a great year last year. It's going to contribute 4 categories, but everything you said, it's like, holy moly, donut shop. You can miss on third base, and you still got a really solid name here.
Yeah.
Dude, it's wild.
Where's Josh Young? Just real quick, where's Josh Young going to hit in that Rangers lineup?
I'd have to look at it. To be honest, let me pull up a little roster.
Feels like he'd be a perfect number 5 if he hits 5th in that Rangers lineup. Obviously, you got Simeon at the top. You got probably Corey Seager hitting 2nd. I'm assuming you're going to have Adolis Garcia hitting cleanup, which probably puts somebody like Evan Carter or Nathaniel Lowe at 3.
Okay.
But man, what I'm getting at though is if Josh Young consistently hits 5 in that lineup, dude, you want to talk about a guy that could potentially drive in 120 something runs, dude. He's got all the makings of a guy who could easily do that you could be getting in the 100 and something pick of your draft.
Yeah, dude, this is first off, you said 5. That's exactly where Roster Resource has him going. So great call by Will. Guys, tune in. Simeon, Seager, Garcia, Carter at 4, Young, Lowe, Heim, Tavares, Duran. This lineup's nasty.
Dude, that lineup, man.
That gets me nervous.
It's Atlanta Braves West.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, if they can piece together a little bit better pitching, I keep seeing, okay, you don't want to go after Hader. Maybe trade for Kenley Jansen, dude. Red Sox are shipping everybody out of there. So we'll take a pretty solid prospect right now. We'll talk to you in 2035 when we want to compete again. It's the worst, dude. I'm going through it right now, guys. It's going to be okay. Let's move on. A lot of question marks in the Red Sox future. A lot of question marks in these third basemen's future. We are at number 17 on our list. I'm going to rip off a couple here, Will.
Yep.
Jordan Walker, man, he's 21 years old. He is everybody's wonderkin from last year. Had a really solid year. At, 18, Alec Boehm, solid hot corner man for the Phillies. I don't know why I said it like that. Jamer Candelario, another red infielder. Jake Berger and Christopher Morel, another guy we've talked about a time or two. What gets you excited about those 5?
Yeah, some of these guys are really interesting for sure. But we're getting to the point now, though, kind of like what I've said in previous episodes. Like at least for me, I would not want one of these guys as my number 1 third baseman that I'm counting on.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's why they're question marks. Like I don't have enough evidence, or I've just seen too much evidence to make me think otherwise that they should be in category 1 or category 2, if that makes sense.
It's a great call.
Having said that, Jordan Walker, right? The pedigree is there. At least the prospect pedigree is there. We saw signs last year in his first pretty much full major league season that, this guy's got potential. But the question is he going to put it together? Yeah. Right? Because if we get another season of, what is this, 276 with 16 home runs, 51 RBIs, 51 runs scored. I mean, if we get another season of that, that's fine. But is that doing anything really for my fantasy team? Not really.
Yeah.
In relation to other people on this list. So, he's a guy that I'm certainly going to keep my eyes on. Would I love to take a flyer on him in the middle round? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not banking on him to be my number one third baseman. And then the other guys, most of those guys are kind of veterans. Alec Bohm was really solid, super, super good guy, at least in my opinion, to have as your number two third
Yeah.
baseman. He's kind of a perfect number two. And then the other guys are, man, they're just upside. Look at Jake Berger, who hit 34 home runs a year ago.
Yeah.
Christopher Morel for the Cubs, 24 years old, strikes out an insane amount, but also will go on like weeks at a time to where you can't get him out. And
Yeah.
so if somebody like that puts it all together, what do we get? It's kind of exciting. So,
Yeah.
to be able to take a flyer on some of these guys as maybe your number two at the position with the hopes that they put stuff together, it's kind of exciting, at least for the overall position.
No doubt about it. And when you think about it's so important to kind of go over this stuff because baseball's a grind, man. It's 162 games, and when injuries happen, this is to me these are the margins, and this is where you're going to be looking for answers. And I
Yep.
like everything you said, dude. I really did. Jake Berger didn't have it on my bingo card that he had 34 ding dongs last year.
Yep.
That's pretty freaking awesome. Speaking
And he plays in a sneaky okay lineup in Miami.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they're
well,
not the Atlanta Braves. Let's not kid ourselves.
that's right.
But he's gonna be hitting behind like Luis Ariz. You're gonna have guys like who's the guy in the outfield that broke out last year? I can't think of his name. We'll talk about it in the outfield episodes. But the Marlins have some decent pieces.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like keep your eye on a guy like Jake Berger though, because he's going to hit in the middle of that lineup because they don't have a ton of power, especially if they don't re-sign Soler. I think he's a free agent.
Brian De La
But
Cruz.
yes, that's exactly who I was thinking of.
Like,
but De La
you can't
Cruz,
be talking about Jazz Chisholm.
no, De La
Jazz
Cruz
Chisholm.
is going to be a stalwart though. He's going to play every day, and he showed signs of being a really good hitter last year, I think. You mentioned Jazz Chisholm is still there. We'll see if he can put a full season together. So Miami's got some pieces, at least in that batting lineup. And so keep your eye on a guy like Jake Berger. I kind of like what I saw out of him last year.
I'm with you, dude. Yeah, traded from the black hole. He made it
That's
out.
right. Made it out of there.
Good for him. Good for. We're sorry, Maldy. Good for him.
Yes.
We'll hit our last 6 question marks right here, guys. We got Max Muncy. We've talked about him a couple times. Dude can hit the long ball. Matt Chapman. He has no home. But I don't know where he's going to go. Nolan Gorman. We talked about Max Muncy light. Noelvi Marte for the Reds. That dude's 22 and doing it. Ke'Bryan Hayes. That dude is he's got the glove. Can he ever put the bat together? Had a pretty solid year last year. And then Eugenio Suarez. He plays for the Diamondbacks now, right, Will?
He does.
Let's go.
You're reigning National League champs.
That's what I'm talking. I always think that's weird. You know, they do like the ceremonies, and then like you weren't part of the team, but you still celebrate with them.
Yeah.
Is anybody jumping out? If these 6, who you taking?
That's a good question. All of them obviously have question marks. That's why they're on this list at this point. But, it'll be really interesting to see where Matt Chapman ends up. Matt Chapman is just one of those guys that I almost have to take him off my draft boards because he's one of those guys to where you see the name. Yeah. And I think you automatically think of a little bit better, more productive player, at least from a batting standpoint.
Yeah.
Just name recognition point. And it's like he always disappoints, at least me. And I don't mean to be hating on Matt Chapman, but that's just the way I feel about him because his average is just rough.
Right.
Same thing with Max Muncy. Like I would if the guy could just, if you could tell me right now that Max Muncy was going to hit 250, I'd be like, all right, sign me up.
Yeah,
I'll take
he
him
might be
right
blue
now.
chip. He'd hit
Yeah,
45 home runs.
take him right now, and he'll be on base at 400 OBP.
Yeah,
Because he walks all the time too.
yeah,
But the problem is the batting average oftentimes is 220 or lower, and it's hard to compete when you get guys that are that low in that category.
yeah.
And so, with those guys, the batting average scares me off. Same thing with Nolan Gorman. Nolan Gorman is basically a younger version of Max Muncy, at least what we've seen so far. Um, to be honest with you, the guy on this list, though, that really intrigues me is
Yeah,
Noelvi Marte.
yeah.
And we've got a musical chairs game going on in the infield of the Cincinnati Reds, and I don't know who's going to be left standing when the music stops playing right now. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing that kind of scares me a little bit.
Yep.
But I tell you what, man, you talk about a guy who has prospect pedigree, is very highly regarded in that organization, showed that he could hit at the big league level at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I think the sky's the limit for those young Reds in that lineup.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be really interesting to see how all the puzzle pieces get put together in Cincinnati.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. Who are you more excited about? Just take divisions out of it. If they're playing 7 games, Reds and Orioles lineups. I mean, they're both pretty nasty. You get to looking at them.
I would just say that to me, it feels like even though the Orioles are still really, really young,
Yeah.
it feels like they've started to prove themselves more over the past year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually translated into wins, which is impressive to me, because it's one thing to be able to put up stats, not to hate on Bobby Witt, but it's great that Bobby Witt puts up all these stats, but the Royals can't win.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at the Orioles and you look at guys like Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday is going to be probably coming up this year. Like those guys have immediately transformed that organization into a winning organization.
Yeah.
And so right now, in a 7-game series, I think Baltimore is hands down the pick, over the Reds. The Reds have just as much probably raw talent, but it's got to start translating into wins. And obviously pitching plays into that. A lot of things plays into that. But but Baltimore is so impressive in the fact that they are not only winning, but they're winning in the American League East. And that's highly impressive.
Yeah. I'm with you, dude. I like it. I like everything you said. I'd probably take Baltimore as well. Let's hit our lotto tickets and get on out of here, Will. We got Junior Caminero. He is 20 years old. And then you got a couple guys who it's like, it's time to go. And Ezekiel Duran, he's 24. And then Brett Beatty, I think he might finally get the keys to the car in New York for next season. Of these 3 guys, there's other third base prospects out there, guys. I'm just trying to pick the top 3 names that could be helpful, maybe fantasy viable to start the year. That's always subject to change, though. All right, Will, what do you like, bud?
Keep your eye out on all 3 of these guys. I think the toughest one for me, even though he's probably had the most experience out of all 3 of these guys, is Ezekiel Duran, because unless somebody gets hurt for Texas, I don't know where he's going to play.
It's a great
consistently
call.
At least.
Yeah.
Now that Evan Carter's established, it feels like. But I would say, I'm not trying to be a homer here, but Junior Caminero, dude, when the Rays call somebody up when they're only 20 years old, that organization believes in this talent.
Yeah.
Because the Rays are not short on organizational talent and depth. I promise you that. And for them to go ahead and call up a guy like Caminero at the end of last year when he was just turned 20 years old, that says a lot, at least to me, who follows that organization very closely. To me, he looks like a younger, more athletic Yandy Diaz.
Yeah.
I don't think that the average is going to get to where Yandy Diaz hits, but very few hit for that high of average. But man, this guy's potential is off the charts. He will definitely be a guy that I will be picking in the last couple of rounds of the draft just to take a shot on. And really, same thing holds true with Brett Beatty. I think now that kind of the runway is somewhat cleared for him to get more playing time, I think that's huge for a guy like this. He's obviously got the ability, he's got the talent. Now he just needs the reps.
Yep.
And so, as long as New York stays patient with him through some ups and downs, I don't think, let's not kid ourselves, this is not the next Julio Rodriguez or the next Corbin Carroll, right?
Right.
But this is a guy that in a couple of years could absolutely be a top 10 player at the position. And so let's see how he does. Let's give him some runway. Let's see how he plays in New York. And we will honestly have a better read on it come 2025 and beyond.
Yeah. Time to kick him out of the nest and see if this bird can fly,
That's
dude,
right.
because dude, I feel like we're there with a lot of players. It feels like in that kind of 24, 25, 26 at some point.
Yep.
So you're not a young kid anymore in the league. It's time to go. Speaking of it's time to go, we're pushing, an hour, and it's been a great time, man. I have enjoyed third base. Will, holistically at the position, real quick, strategy wise, how do you feel?
Man, times have changed. A year ago, we were saying you better get one of the top 5 or 6 of the position or you're in trouble. Man, this year it's kind of the opposite. I mean, I do think that especially those top 5, have an upside that probably most of the other guys can't touch.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest with you, if you're okay with not getting one of the big upside plays, dude, you could feel comfortable with, I think, about 14 or 15 of these guys on our list.
Yeah.
And be good with them as your starting third baseman on full lineup days.
Yep.
And I tell you what, that's a testament to the talent at the position. It's exciting. I mean,
it is.
Third base is very talent rich now, it feels like, and there's a lot of young guys that it feels like there's only going to be room for improvement for.
Yeah, lots of potential.
Yeah, and so I'm excited about this position. I definitely don't feel like you have to go out and get it in the first couple of rounds or else you're done for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it would be great to go out and get Bobby Witt or Gunnar Henderson or one of the Austin Riley, one of those top guys.
Adley Rutschman.
Right? But man, if you decide to wait, you can. You can, and that's actually a viable strategy for this year. So I would be perfectly fine, depending on where some of those top guys fall. I would be totally fine, getting one of those 6 through 15ers if I needed to.
You said up to 15. Most leagues are only 12. I mean, so there's, it's pretty exciting. You're right, dude. It is 180 from last year, and we're excited about it. Guys, that's 63. Man, great time. We really hope this is helpful, man, because it's 2024. It is time. I'm looking at fantasy websites trying to figure out when these drafts are happening. Guys, go out there, do some mocks, and then dive in and let us know how it goes at BTH_Cody and at Will Sism. Reach out to us. Let us know what you think about this list. We're pretty jazzed about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, man. We love you guys. We really appreciate you listening. But until next time, thanks for listening to episode 63 of Bringing the Heat.